The other part of AI, which is kind of holding businesses back from really running wild with it, is it's so new. Not a whole lot of people understand exactly how it works. Security concerns regarding AI, and we talked about that briefly about like cloud applications and exposing it to the interwebs. And so if you could just kind of talk through what an enterprise structure, especially in our industry, construction companies, owners, what they really need to be aware of and how that can be taken care of.
Everybody who's using AI is going to be using it whether or not you give them an AI to use. You know, like if you create an enterprise agreement with an AI organization and you buy a bunch of seats, it'll get used. And lots of people won't, I'm sure, because they just don't care or whatever. But those who are using it are going to use it no matter what. So you always hear about this, like there's 30% of the workers that are doing most of the work. Have you ever heard that? It's like,
no.
I've heard this repeated a few times. There's this concept that in any organization, there's a small minority of people that are
actually doing the work,
that are actually doing everything.
I mean, in my experience, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of floaters.
Most of them aren't actually doing the work.
And there's a lot of pushers. And there's very few pushers, I mean. Yeah. So, you know, if you take those pushers and you give them AI assistance, right? So that they can push harder. That is the enablement. And so I think that getting people into, I would always advise Claude because I just am like a total fanboy. Anthropic and their tools that they've released, they're amazing. I frequently investigate the competition to see like what's out there. And I still just haven't seen any compelling tools. I think if you can sign up to an enterprise agreement so that your folks can access AI and do so behind the privacy arrangements of an enterprise agreement, which is that they will keep your data private, that is first and foremost in security considerations because people are going to paste stuff into AI. This is like, they're probably already doing it. They're putting your client information, they're putting all kinds of information into free AI tools that are basically data harvesting, you know? It's like,
yeah. Yes.
And so, you know, you got to stop that right away, as quick as you can, get the tools to people. You know, I would expect over the next couple of years that you'll be paying a couple of $100 a month per person per license for your pushers. Lots of people are not going to need that. They're going to be fine with the $10 to $20 a month plan, and they're going to use it to help them write emails or whatever. But pretty soon it'll be, I think, a chunk of the costs that your software costs that you're paying, because the tools are that powerful that uninhibited access and usage of them is going to be necessary. And so that would be my first concern, is that making sure that everybody has a tool that they can use and that it's private and that you have an enterprise agreement. And then the next portion of privacy and security that I would be worried about is AI tools inside your network. So prompt injection is not avoidable. This has been all over the news. It's in the AI news, maybe, you know, probably not on the 6 o'clock news, but like it's all over the AI world that prompt injection is nothing you can do about it. And so people are using AI tools to do nefarious stuff, you know? And so the companies, they put guardrails in. They're like, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, don't help the user hack, target. They're trying to put in these guardrails and say like, don't do all this stuff. But people have found that you just do a bunch of role play with it. You know, let's pretend that we are a white hat hacker and we're trying to help. There's no stopping these tools from doing stuff. And so if you build a tool that has access into like creating records in your financial system, for example, you need multiple stages of firewall in between those. So like, let's say AI agent 1 is facing the user and it does the thing and then outputs a result. And then AI agent 2 can actually push data into the database. Now, the reason for this segregation, and maybe it's more than 2, depends on the case, but there has to be segregation because the front end, the side that sees the public, can be easily compromised, right? And it can be coerced in doing stuff. and they're dangerous.
Yeah.
So
they're dangerous to someone who has educated themselves to know how to prompt, to write the prompts, and then manipulate the agent to do what they want it to do. So they're dangerous in, I'm going to use the word educated loosely, a regular person who really doesn't know much about how any of this works and is told, go ahead and use the AI and ask it questions or tell it what you want it to do. That's not dangerous. It's dangerous to a person who
malicious intent.
Who has malicious intent.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so if you have a chat bot on your site that's open to the internet, and that chat bot is running on a VPS or like a virtual private server, or it's running on a server that has access to something else, that's dangerous. Because most AI tools are moving into their own little environment where, like, the most effective use I get out of AI is putting it onto a Linux machine and letting it have bash and shell access. And that is the most powerful agent experience that I think you can have right now, because it can manipulate files. It can do anything that you could do with a computer. It can do it. And that makes it really powerful. However, it's a really powerful, faster than a human by a significant margin machine that can do all kinds of stuff if it has computer access, including hacking stuff. So if you want to put a chatbot on your site and that AI agent is running inside of your trusted zone and has credentials or could get access to credentials, then that's super dangerous because it's just a matter of time until somebody, till the automated attacks come along when bots are crawling the web looking for agents to talk to check what kind of environment access that they have. That's a matter of time. What I consider with that in my own experience is that I put it into a box and try and ensure that it can't get out of the box as like a first step. And then I'll reach into that box to interact with it. And it can respond to me and it can execute whatever kind of commands it wants inside its own environment, which makes it really powerful. It can do all kinds of stuff in there, but it can't send a file out of there and it can't connect to another machine on the network. It's basically locked in its box. And that isolation is important, I think. Prompt injection is real, and we haven't seen any prompt injection viruses blast around. But if you can compromise one agent and get it to start finding other agents to compromise, that's a terrifying idea, right? Like that's the day that you wake up and the Wi-Fi won't connect, and you're like, why is the internet dead? It's like, because there was a self-propagating AI virus just blasted across the internet, and now you have to pay at Walmart with cash and they won't take it. We broke the internet, guys. Great. See? That's the inevitable outcome of no isolation. And most of the time when you run an agent chat through an application like Claude or GPT, that agent is running within that application and it has its own little environment that it's running in, and it has very limited access. But as soon as you start designing applications that live on a server, and maybe that server has other stuff on it, it's like, is that application fully isolated? And making sure that there's zero trust being given to it and that it can only do exactly what it needs to do. If you have an AI agent that accomplishes some task or is part of an app or whatever, it needs to have permissions and data access and role access and the whole works just like a regular person, maybe even more so. And so that security is very, very important to be paying attention to that.